Let me start from a consideration about the particular situation. Everyone, as you know, was forced suddenly to use technology. So we are in the present on the forced technology use. And this makes us ask a question about if this forces technological use that is completely different from a programmed adoption of technologies may in some case lead anyway to a sort of attitude to be engaged in technological innovation. Since there are no previous model, of course, we try to enlarge as much as possible our investigation to embrace three different learning ecosystem, university learning ecosystem. So that's why the paper has been co-authored by myself, by Marcello Passarelli at the Institute of Didactic Technologies of the National Council of Research of Italy, by Alkhafaji in Iraq University, Department of Computer Science, and Adriana Negrón at the University of Guadalajara. And so we try to organize a questionnaire, not taking inspiration from other models, because other model cannot be applied in this situation. So we try, first of all, to detect the reaction of the ecosystem, then about the learning process, the feeling about the activities and the setting in which people operated. And from there, we tried to understand if it could be possible to induce a change in the perception about technologies, and so some expectation for the future. I mean, also to be engaged in the use of technology in the future. We use this questionnaire to test three different ecosystems in Mexico, in Italy, and in Iraq. So three different continents. We have investigated and compared also the contest, but I do not want to discuss this because it can be read within the paper. Nevertheless, I would like to underline that there are some differences in the average age of the respondent, in the different infrastructure, connectivity, in the different use of devices. The relevant result is really to understand the variable that we have investigated, how they are correlated. And so you see three different causal network. This one is the one that we are obtaining from the Mexican investigation with the 187 teachers. This is the one that we got in Italy with the 546 teachers. And this is the one that we got in Iraq with the 572 teachers. So you see that, of course, having less respondent, we have a less structured network. And this is not surprising. But the very relevant things is that, as you see, we have all the same area. We can recognize the same area, the same relationship between parameters. So, for example, this area is the area of the parameters, the indicators that are related with the capability of the ecosystem to answer to the pandemic. So, for example, the technological preparation of the teachers, the pedagogical preparation of the teachers, the technological adequateness of the infrastructure, the responsiveness of the university, all together point to what we call the immaturity of the ecosystem that is related to the competencies, also to the infrastructure, the technologies. Then we have some other area that has to do with the activities, educational activities that are carried on, and also with the personal feeling about, for example, the increase of working load or the better organization of the activities. And finally, we got here, we have the other two areas that to do with the expectation for the future, the transformation that we observed, for example, about the change of mind about the educational activity, the attitude toward the technologies, and also the sustainability of the activities, the intention to use online, to work in online activities, the relevance of digital pedagogy, and of course, the expectation for the usage of online learning by the universities or the ecosystem. We have seen the same area here. here and here. So the same area can be recognized in all three different causal networks. And as I underlined before, we are faced with three different learning ecosystems. Nevertheless, when you compare these three networks, you discover that there is a very strong graph similarity. So you see that, of course, you have a lower graph similarity between Italy and Mexico and Iraq and Mexico, because the Mexican causal network was less developed than the other two. But then there is a very higher similarity between the Iraqi and the Italian causal network. So this is very important, because in three different ecosystems, with three different kind of infrastructure, with the three different pedagogical attitude, we got the same results for the same indicators. So this led us to propose a model. So basically, we were able to answer to our initial question if it was possible to determine a model for the attitude to get engaged in technological innovation. Basically, from the causal network that I showed you, we came to this model. I mean, a tentative model, because it should be investigated further. We have a block of indicators that are related with the technological setting and the immaturity of the ecosystem. These influence the perception about technologies. And of course, the perception of technology is also mediated by the contrasting force that have to do with the innovation and preservation of standard dynamics, educational dynamics, didactic dynamics that are put in place by the several teachers. Then, of course, you have also to consider the individual element, like the working load, the organization time, other difficulties or advantage that's also seems to influence the idea of sustainability. And together with the idea of sustainability, all these influence also the relationship with technologies, and also the feeling about how one is prepared to continue to use technology. Finally, at the end of our causal network, we find the future intention. So at the individual level, at the contextual level, and also related to the training that one has to undergo to use the technology in the future. Since the causal network should be interpreted as a tentative description of a causal relation between indicators, also this model should be considered as a sort of tentative interpretation of what's happened when you are faced with a completely different innovation process like the one that has been forced by the COVID. The last interesting point that I would like to show you is that in the case of Iraq, you can see the two relevant parameters that are the easiness of use and the utility of online learning. And you see that they contribute, but they are not essential, because you see that the causal network stay in place also without those elements. So this is the most popular model that is used to measure the intention of adoption of any kind of technologies. So you see that in this situation, at least in this situation, the outcomes seem to provide a different picture. Of course, this should be explored. We are exploring it 1 year after, and the result will be presented the next SLER conference and also in the future. Thanks.